So this is foil. This is what they would place the drug on that they're smoking, which this can be done with methamphetamine or fentanyl or even cocaine. They would put the drug on here and then light it from underneath. They light it underneath and vaporize it, and then they follow it with a straw. These are glass pipes that are also used for vaporization of different drugs. This here is typically used for cocaine. And again, we aren't trying to encourage drug use or enable drug use at all. You know, in fact, no human being ever has woke up in the history of time and said, hey, you know what, there's a syringe access site down the street. I think I'm gonna start banging fentanyl today in my arm or smoking fentanyl. I have, however, met people who are unable to access sterile supplies or a safe place to use them. And if I can enable them on either one of those, I'm happy to, because every human being deserves an opportunity to be safe. And like I said, you know, dead people don't recover.
It's part of San Francisco's public health strategy called harm reduction, taking steps to reduce the negative consequences of using drugs.
My name is Andrew Callahan, and you're watching Channel 5 News. This episode was filmed at one of the many harm reduction facilities in San Francisco, which provide free access to sterile syringes, clean crack pipes, fresh foil, and so forth.
Many local drug users use these services on a daily basis.
Yeah, my name is Dennis. I've been doing fentanyl for some years now.
Do you use any of the harm reduction services they offer out here?
Yeah, I use them. I use them to get what I need, get my foil, get my tutors, get my shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep it rolling. I keeps it rolling.
Yeah. So you just kind of go there and they hand it out?
Yeah.
Tried to get clean before?
Nah, I haven't. I haven't tried to get clean.
Do you want to?
Yeah. Yeah.
From a funding perspective,
Most of these facilities receive federal grants from the CDC.
Our grants provide funding for public health programs and research.
But the majority of the funding comes from the city of San Francisco itself.
last year, SF allocated $18.6 million to these programs. This was very controversial and resulted in a ton of negative media attention.
Like this.
Do you want to commute through a fentanyl caliphate? Go to San Francisco. It's the most comfortable rock bottom around.
We already have a crime problem, so let's add to it and make accessing crack pipes easier.
They leave you alone at rock bottom. Rock bottom's so cushy, they keep you alive.
Beyond assisted suicide, it's an abandonment. They would rather assist you to become a zombie instead of being against the immigration crisis, right?
San Francisco is coming to a city near you because liberalism spreads worse than a virus from a Chinese lab.
This type of coverage caused San Francisco to enact a media blackout policy to anybody working in harm reduction. But thankfully, the kind people of the Gubbio Project, a local nonprofit, allowed us to go inside for a full tour. Here it is.
My name is Bill Buellman, and I'm just a humble consultant for the Gubbio Project for their harm reduction program, their syringe access program.
For sure. So can we check out some of the supplies you give out?
Sure. Okay, so that there is 100 syringes. They come in packs of 10. You know, they vary by gauge as well as length. Most people kind of know what size is best for them, but if they don't or they ask about it, I will give suggestions based on what kind of substances they're using, how often they're using, what their vein health is like, things like that. And then there's a whole lot of other injection supplies in here. These are what are called cookers or tops, and this is where somebody would mix their substance and then heat it if appropriate, and then they would draw it up using that cotton through there. This is a tourniquet that helps them to locate a vein in a healthier way. I'm not trying to help anybody get high here, you know. I am trying to help them be as safe as possible and reduce any potential harms that could be secondary to, in this case, injection drug use. Whenever somebody injects, they're creating a wound. So how you create that wound and how you heal and seal that wound matters big time in terms of, you know, introduction to bacteria. Over here, these are some safer smoking supplies. I had some ignorance as well as some judgments around these things before COVID, right? These things prevent so many things from being passed in other ways, right? Orally, by sharing pipes, right? Herpes, right? You know, the oral version at least. Well, yeah. This, to me, is the most important part. This is the one, some people call them pipe cozies. These are actually repurposed spark plug covers. These can fit on any kind of glassware that anybody's using, right? These enable someone to not have to share. In fact, you could, if it's not your pipe even, you could place it on and have your own little cozy, right? And that could be the one that only you use to really keep yourself safe. In fact, I suggest that to people, you know, like, keep this, you know, because this might save you from, you know, a whole lot of heartache at some point.
What is harm reduction for someone who doesn't know?
It describes a philosophy and a movement.
Harm reduction is rehumanizing. Harm reduction is love. Harm reduction is kindness. Harm reduction is helping. It's not just about you, it's about us.
For most of the time when it pertains to the work I do, it's about people who use drugs and helping people who use drugs to be a little healthier and safer, whatever that looks like for them, because it needs to be directed by them. And that's part of the philosophical part that I was talking about, right?
And it's exactly why this group of local activists is here, setting up this pop-up safe consumption site. It's a place for people to use their drugs with someone nearby in case of an overdose.
We're not putting anyone at risk, including ourselves.
Lydia Branston is the executive director of a local nonprofit working with people on the streets.
Is that we're showing how simple it can be to save lives.
My name is Lydia Branston, and I'm the executive director here at the Gubbio Project. I would describe harm reduction as a philosophy of care, bringing people who are doing drugs or activities that may cause harm and reducing that harm.
It's one of the most efficacious public health interventions that I know of, well supported by lots of evidence and science. The science supports that syringe access reduces significantly HIV and hepatitis C transmission, soft tissue infections, abscesses, necrotizing fasciitis, which is flesh-eating disease, staph, methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, which is a fancy way of saying MRSA, which you probably heard of, right? And abscesses in general. We get one person cured for hepatitis C who injects, and statistically that's 25 who won't get hepatitis C in the next 24 months. So there's that, but then also they're a great place to engage folks in a low threshold way into services, right? So like the biggest common denominator in folks making positive changes in their lives is trust and rapport with any provider, and they can be a nurse, a counselor, a doctor, doesn't matter, right? So we develop that with folks who otherwise might not be developing that anywhere. And then the next thing we can do is kind of help move them along the continuum. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, but we know there's some clinical evidence-based ways to make them thirsty.
So what do you think are some common misconceptions that people have about harm reduction?
I think the common misperception is that harm reduction enables people to use drugs. It's like saying a seatbelt enables people to drive fast.
Started from the bottom, now we way up, way up. Then I got that bad bitch, she stays up.
It's bullshit. When I see a person lying on the street who maybe has a needle hanging out of their arm and they're passed out, they're sick. They're not well. So now the next question is, what do you do for someone who's unwell? Do you walk by them and ignore it? Or do you stop and ask them if they're okay? And for people like Ricky Wynn.
Hey bro, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Why are you shooting up right here, man?
I swear to God, every time I come down this block, there's more tents.
What the fuck is going on, dude?
Do you want to get clean, man?
He's not asking to help them carry their bags. He's just adding more to them. So you see someone struggling, and instead of saying, hey, can I help you? You say, here, take some more shit and just pull up your fucking pants. What's wrong with you?
At some point during my interview with Lydia Branston, I realized the man I interviewed last episode in San Francisco, named Richie Wynn, was essentially public enemy number one to the harm reduction community.
My name's Richie Wynn. Basically, I'm kind of like a video vigilante, if you will.
In the past year, he's built a large online following with his videos, which mostly consist of homeless confrontations.
Hey, bro, you know people got kids and stuff like that. You out here rolling up heroin or fentanyl? You can't be doing that right here. Have a little fucking respect, man, for people that pay rent. You shooting up right in here, bro? You want to do that in front of the kids, man? Clean that shit up, bro. That shit's ugly, bro. You can't set things on fire, man. You gotta put that out.
And he absolutely hates harm reduction.
See, this is why I cannot stand the harm reduction people, because they're turning people into real life schmeagles out here. What you got going, buddy? You all right? Is that the stuff from the harm reduction site? You gotta stop fucking with this shit, bro. Where did you get all the stuff in the black bag? These nonprofits, these harm reduction creeps are passing it out on the streets. These harm reduction people that have a stranglehold here on our city here and our tax money. I'm anti-harm reduction. I'm anti-giving out paraphernalia to struggling addicts.
So you prefer an abstinence model?
Correct. Take them in, start with like a 90-day mandatory sentence, no early release, 90 days in some type of rehab camp or some type of county jail stint. And from there, the individuals can detox.
Ironically, Richie himself is a former cocaine dealer and cocaine user.
So Richie used to deal drugs?
Definitely was selling a lot of coke.
But after doing time in prison and finding sobriety, he had a dramatic change of heart.
I gotta stop smoking that shit in front of the kids, man. Arrest these individuals.
take them into custody.
And now spends the majority of his free time filming other people getting high and talking about it on TV.
Ricky, thank you for coming on and for all the noise that you've made about what's going on.
So why exactly don't you like him?
Well, he's an asshole. I mean, let's just call it what it is. The thing is about him is that this is a person who, when he was dealing drugs, was exploiting people who use drugs. He gets caught, he goes to prison. He gets out because he claims he had adverse childhood trauma, which I don't, probably did.
The judge cut me a break, sent me to the New Bridge program, which is in Berkeley. They sent me there, and it is kind of 12 step based.
And then when he gets out of prison and becomes sober, he now is still exploiting people who use drugs.
It's fucking bananas out here.
Right? For money.
Don't ever disrespect looking like you just got electrocuted. Don't ever disrespect looking like you got knocked out by Debo.
He doesn't do this for entertainment. He's getting paid. He's getting paid by clicks. He's getting paid by the Fox News. He's getting all kinds of internet fame and fortune that comes. This is a person who's pulling up the ladder behind him. He got out of his sentence because of leniency of the progressive government. And now he's out there saying, oh, see, I got leniency, but all you need to go to jail.
The drug use, the tents, it's just too much now.
It's great to say I have achieved sobriety and congratulations for him. But then to spread hate across all of the internet on people who are still struggling, it's wrong.
Obviously, there's some pretty heavy beef going on here, so I think I should mention. Richie told me he doesn't do it for the money, the clout, or to spread hate. Like many other conservative activists, he says his primary goal is to protect the children.
I don't think the children should have to see it because it's grotesque. A lot of it is, it's harsh to see. It is very gruesome.
It's graphic stuff, and exposing children to it's child abuse.
Harm reduction advocates, however, do not believe that exposing children to homelessness is child abuse. They actually think it's important for kids to see, and in some cases, even engage with the unhoused, to develop a sense of empathy early on in life for a group of people who are often shunned by polite society.
You're creating this sort of sense of lack of safety in children by pointing out that those people are not worthy. So I'm a parent. I have a 15-year-old daughter. My daughter was raised while I was working at St. Anthony's in the Tenderloin, and she grew up knowing people from all walks of life. She is not scared of people who are homeless. She is not scared of people who use drugs. But the thing is, I didn't educate her to be. She has opinions of her own. I was once told by a preschool teacher, she was like, when a kid says something outrageous.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up. Hey.
Instead of shutting them down, ask them why. For example, if you're walking down the street and there's a guy with a beard in a skirt, and my kid starts to laugh, and I say, don't laugh at that person. Right? Rather than saying, why are you laughing at that person? You don't know what the answer is going to be. The answer could be, wow, those shoes really don't match that skirt, right? Kids are very pure. So it is about being open and honest and then being able to have conversations about the activities that people are having and seeing if we can get them to be healthier and safer.
Lydia believes normalizing the visibility of homeless people is crucial, especially now as homelessness has just hit a 10-year record high.
A disturbing analysis on homelessness in the U.S. coming from the Wall Street Journal. The article says the homeless figures are up roughly 11% from last year. That's the biggest recorded increase. It says the surge reflects the basic unaffordability of housing across the U.S. and the continuing opioid crisis.
She says the best way to get people off the streets is to begin by offering complimentary services.
For people who are on the street experiencing crisis, especially people who've been on the street for a long time, the way that they ask questions often is, I can't have a cup of coffee, can I? I can't use the bathroom, can I? Right? So we'd like to start with yeses. So we start with very easy services to say yes to. We have a group that comes and does massages. Would you like a neck massage? It's a shoulder massage, it's a chair, right? That's an easy yes. We have nurses that come and do foot care. That's an easy yes, right? The next level is we have nurses who come and do vaccines. Are you interested in a vaccine? Getting people accustomed to starting to care for their bodies. And through that, and through being able to have conversations around harm reduction supplies and all these things, you start to develop a relationship with this person that's trusted. Right? Where we're not judging them, but we are providing opportunities for them to move towards a healthier life.
So how do you ultimately help people get off drugs?
I don't get anyone off drugs. People get themselves off drugs. What I do is offer people opportunities. and give them hope.
Richie does not buy it.
I believe that they should have the autonomy to stay outside and keep using drugs. Like, that's what a lot of people will say. They'll say, well, it's their choice. You know, the war on drugs failed. Well, no, the war on drugs didn't fail. Because, look, I got clean through the jail system. Everyone I know that got sobriety got arrested.
No, do not do that.
And then got perpetual sobriety through the court system.
Lucas Couliard was sentenced to 1 to 4 years for felony drug possession as an addict.
My mother, my brothers, my aunties, all of them. My whole family is criminals. My mom just got indicted by the federal government in 2015.
Jesus.
Yeah, and she's 60 some odd years old, and she's now clean and doing good.
What'd she get in trouble for?
Conspiracy to traffic heroin. And she went down with my brother. My brother, same thing. He just came home from an 8-year bid, did RDAP in federal prison.
The BOP's Residential Drug Abuse Program, or RDAP, focuses on teaching new skills such as rational thinking, impulse control, and emotional self-regulation.
Been out now, driving a brand new Tesla, working in a union, getting married, and he's sober and living a great life. It's possible, man. People need to stop coddling these individuals and start holding them accountable and give them responsibility, and I guarantee that they'll rise to the occasion. A lot of them will rise to that occasion. And if they don't and they have to go to jail, you know, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times like me, well, it might happen on the 4th time.
So, and that's sort of the interesting part, right? This dogma that people need to be shamed, they need to be like arrested, they need to be hit rock bottom. You know, and that if you do all those things, that shame and that control will mold them into a better person. But what I'm seeing out on the street is that shame is a cycle that continues to drag people down. It sounds pithy, but love and support and compassion actually works. Like, people don't get sober because they're ashamed.
Never mind Jeff Tremaine, he's such a fat pussy, there's no need to talk about him.
People may go to treatment because they're ashamed.
Jackass was everything to me.
People who stay sober, it's because they love, right? They're learning to love themselves, they're learning to love their families again, they're learning to love their community, right? Those people give back.
Now, that being said, Richie isn't completely against all harm reduction services.
The only harm reduction that should be going on is Narcan. I have no problem with that. You want to go around and give out Narcan to individuals so they don't OD on their own accord? That's fine. You need Narcan? Make eye contact with me, man. Hold on, I'm gonna get Narcan right now.
For those unfamiliar, Narcan is an over-the-counter nasal spray capable of reversing an opioid overdose.
But you giving out all these other things to actually ingest drugs with, even things that are ingenious that you probably wouldn't even think of. They're giving them vitamin C to help break down the heroin and the crack, chopsticks to be able to push into a crack pipe so they can push their Brillo pad and their crack further into their pipe.
I guess their idea is, okay, they're going to do it anyway, so why not, give them access to clean needles so they don't contract HIV or Hep C or something like that?
Well, yeah, okay, you're going to give them clean syringes, but at what cost, right? I mean, you are moving our moral goalposts away from where it should be, where we should be telling these individuals, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Get clean, man. Get clean. Get clean, bro. When I went in there and did my undercover video with Savannah Hernandez, I went into the harm reduction site. I have Narcans. I have these sanitary cookers. I got all these paraphernalia acting like I was a drug addict. And at the end there, I said, you know what? I really want all this stuff because I want to get high, but I also want to get clean. Where could I go into a rehab? Where could I get clean at? And they had no idea.
Bullshit. And when someone says they want to go to treatment or they want to go to detox, I put them in my car, we take them there. We have partnerships with all of the programs that have detox, that have sobering centers, that have treatment programs.
A lot more people are more likely to go into substance use treatment actually who are accessing syringe access. Okay. This is what we do is we engage a population that even in so-called liberal San Francisco, it's probably the only population I can think of that isn't really welcomed everywhere, right? Yeah. By even the very people that should be welcoming them, which are providers, healthcare providers, right? This country's always had a little bit of a stick up their ass, to be frank, when it comes to public health policy or any policy,
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions.
And, I believe that's kept, in some cases, people sick and even killed people. Everyone uses drugs. The only question is, are the ones you prefer medicalized, legalized or illegal, right? I mean, the most harmful drugs are already legal, tobacco and alcohol. Tobacco kills more people than alcohol and all illicit drugs, including fentanyl, combined every year, right? Alcohol kills more people than all illicit drugs combined every year, right? And they're the legal ones. So our system of selective prohibition has never been based on sound science or the amount of harm that the substance does, because if it was, then alcohol and tobacco would be illegal. And I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying.
Does the city of San Francisco fund harm reduction programs?
Yes. The Department of Public Health has contracts with the nonprofits who then do the harm reduction work, yeah.
I believe this to be one of the key aggravating factors behind the harm reduction debate. So California's state income tax rate is over 13%, which is the highest in the nation, and that figure only increases with the more money you make. This has caused a mass exodus of California millionaires to other states. If you live in Austin or Nashville, you know what I'm talking about.
Big announcement. We are moving the entire company to Nashville.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Texas. Somewhere where you have a little bit more freedom.
The Golden State lost about 211,000 residents.
When people hear Las Vegas, they think of the Strip and casinos, which is fine, but 20 minutes away, it's one of the most amazing communities that I've ever been a part of.
Now, after raising taxes, California simultaneously decriminalized public drug consumption and began using the excess tax money to fund harm reduction services. So, while the situation is much more complex than just, liberal policy failing California, it's very understandable why California taxpayers would be outraged watching these two things happen in tandem.
The taxpayer is not going to keep putting up with this, to continue to use taxpayers' money to give paraphernalia to drug addicts out here on the street. It needs to stop because you can't be the mayor of this city like Mayor London Breed and come out against public drug consumption, but in the same token, turn around and then ask the taxpayers to foot the bill for drug addicts to get paraphernalia. The Harm Reduction Coalition, or the Harm Production, how I like to call them, they're down on 6th Street, still handing out these this paraphernalia.
Hey, my friend, this is the health access site, if you don't mind.
I'm just recording you guys, just seeing what you guys are passing out over here. I mean, you guys are passing out paraphernalia to addicts that are struggling. I just want to know why. And they actually go out here and they pass it out to the people that are struggling with addiction.
At some point, I realized I was missing a key element of the story. While these harm reduction programs are a frequent target of Fox News pundits.
Disgusting. His people say they can make the smoking of crack cocaine safe. There's no safe way to smoke crack. Sooner or later, it kills you.
We should stop enabling our people from using drugs.
The reality is that San Francisco's harm reduction programs are actually kind of winding down. In 2021, at its peak, the city of San Francisco opened up a safe injection site in the Tenderloin.
The plan was to create a number of so-called wellness hubs around the city where addicts could consume their drugs while being monitored to prevent overdoses. In 1 year, the Tenderloin Center reportedly prevented more than 300 deaths.
326 people were brought back to life in just 1 year. Despite this, California Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed Senate Bill 57.
Governor Newsom vetoed a law this year that would have allowed pilot programs for supervised drug sites in San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles.
This led to the shutdown of San Francisco's facility.
So if you look across the street, right, where this green boards is at, right, this used to be a harm reduction site. I worked it there for about a year and a half. Feel me, when they first opened. That motherfucker was overly cracking. That's where you go get the fresh needles, you know what I'm talking about? If you overdose, they'd bring you back to life and send you on about your life. If you needed housing, they had housing resources. If you want to get a cool hygiene pack, to get yourself right during the evening, as you can see, it's nothing there no more. They closed that motherfucker down. It was only open for a year. They talking about it was a temporary little test run for San Francisco. Now you got motherfuckers back on the street, you feel me? Open that motherfucker back up. You open that motherfucker back up, you ain't got to worry about no neighbors going to City Hall and complaining about some shit that you feel me, been going on before they time. You know what I'm talking about?
So you support harm reduction like that?
Support harm reduction all the way. I work full-fledged in that motherfucker. Even the people out here, ask them about it. They gonna agree with it too. Harm reduction was everything, for shit sure. Shout out to harm reduction on everything. That motherfucker kept people heart beating and everything, man.
I'm very disappointed that Gavin Newsom has decided to take a political stance on what is a health issue. And so, again, it is not easy to support people who use drugs, because anytime you give people support who are using drugs, you're considered to be an enabler, right? And that you're just encouraging this bad behavior. And drug use and drug, disorders are a medical condition. and should be treated as a medical condition, but instead it's a political volleyball.
It's now harder than ever for drug users in San Francisco to gain access to safe use supplies and Narcan, which, by the way, is getting more expensive because more people are dying from fentanyl overdoses.
You know, those packaged Narcans, the nasal one, cost about $150 per box of Narcan of 2. Yeah. But injectable Narcan, like the vials that you could do injectable, is about $1.50. It's the patent on the actual device that delivers it to your nose that allows the pharmaceutical companies.
There we go again. So the same company that owns the patent for the mechanism that sprays Narcan into your nose just paid out a $4.3 billion settlement for improperly advertising prescription pain medication. That company is called Teva Pharmaceuticals.
Teva Pharmaceutical has reached a $4.3 billion deal and a nationwide opioid settlement. According to the agreement, the Israel-based drug manufacturer will pay that money out to states, local governments, and Native American tribes.
Yes, the same company that helped spark the opioid crisis is now making Narcan more expensive to subsidize their payments to the state of Texas and local Native American tribes. However, it is still possible to gain access to free Narcan in the Bay Area. A nonprofit called Lost Souls Courier Collective, ran by bike messenger Antonio Chavez, offers free Narcan delivery 24/7, 7 days a week, anywhere in the city.
My name is Antonio Chavez. I work for Lost Soul Courier Collective. It's a nonprofit organization that we're legit, we're incorporated. This is something that I set out to do after a lot of friends and family passed away from drug overdoses and drug-related deaths. I lost a lot of people really one after the other. You know, like I just kept getting these calls at in the middle of the night, like, yo, so-and-so, they're gone, man. You know, and that shit, it tore me up. And it really got me to thinking damn dude, I've really treated a lot of people that I love the most in really terrible ways, you know, because of the way that I've been conditioned to think about these things. My father gave me permission to talk to you guys about it, you know, he was on the pipe all of my childhood, you know. He was homeless for a while. He was staying in a tent, one of these, you know, screaming at the sky, one of those, you know. And I remember being a little kid and knowing that I had a dad, but knowing that he was out there and really missing him. And I think it did something to me when I was a kid, you know, that classic thing of, was it my fault? Is it something that I did to him? Did he choose the drugs over me? Did he choose to get high over being here with his son, you know? And I feel like that's just the first immediate human response, is to be offended and hurt because you feel like they're choosing, you know, over you. But now that it took my own drug use, me sitting in the house I grew up in, spun the fuck out, and I'm like, damn, that's how easy it is. They got me too. How human we all are, you know? My grandfather died from complications from an overdose. You know, he was on the needle, he was on hop. And this is before I was even born, man. So really trip off how heavy that is. The drugs have been here. They this whole thing with this Fox News talking pundit, talking head, okay, Raw Ricky. I seen that, you know, I kept it real with the man right here. Dudes like that are over here laughing and pointing a camera like it's funny. There's nothing funny about it.
What is that, a eye patch? A Dorito chip bag? No, them Lays. That's crazy. With the Band-Aid eye patch, though.
This is death row, right here. You know what I'm saying? The streets are death row. And they're, you know, they're busy, talking about, just say no. That worked 50 years ago. That shit has been pumped into your head ever since you were a little kid.
Drugs. Some of the big kids do them.
Get DARE in your kid's school too.
Just say no. Dare to be different, you know what I mean?
Hey, you want to smoke?
No thanks.
Oh, I'm gonna go tell everybody that you are a chicken.
Well, that's okay, Paul, but that's something I don't want to do.
Okay.
It's never worked. It didn't work 100 years ago in the Prohibition. You know, I have people that are staying outside my house in tents. And of course, I try to be polite. I'm on harm reduction now. I get what he's saying. You come outside and you're like, fuck, man, it's horrific. It's really hard to look at.
What is that? Is that from the trank? You gotta kick that habit, that fentanyl, brother.
But on another hand, you know, he don't even know what that's like, bro. From what I understand, he was on powder. I don't know if he was on Chris. According to his case docket, he got caught with hella powder, like a pistol, some other like shady shit. He was on powder. He wasn't on hop. I've never been on hop. From what I understand, it's no joke.
What's the darkest place you found yourself throughout your addiction?
In that, man, sitting on a railroad track at like maybe 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, coked out, drinking some low budget alcohol, and just woe is me type situation.
Have you ever shot dope or like smoked meth?
No, I haven't done those.
For him to just be like, why, like with his camera out, like, why you living like that though, bro? There's one where he's like, look at you with your booty cheeks all out, like, astute observation, Mr. Ricky, like that's, anybody with eyes can see that this is like, yeah, it's an awful situation, but like pointing that shit at people and like shaming them and making fun of them and like using it as this like clickbait, you know what I mean? This like dope fiend clickbait. It's insane to me, and it's really like, it's grotesque, dude. People gotta, everybody on that side of the fence says abstinence is the only way.
It's zero tolerance, man. We gotta have zero tolerance. We cannot do this. We gotta click the lights on and tell them the party's over. The party's over here in San Francisco. We don't want no more tents. We don't want no more drug use. We don't want any of that.
Okay, you guys have made mistakes before, right? I highly doubt that anybody from that side of the fence has never gotten high once. And with fentanyl, it's this thing where you might not even know that you're taking fentanyl. If you don't know what you got and you're not used to opioids, that's it, you're done.
At 22 years old, Sawyer Post made a mistake. He tried Percocet, a prescription painkiller.
The Percocet itself was laced with fentanyl. Unfortunately, my son.
Krista says she believes this was Trinity's first time trying drugs.
9-year-old died from a fentanyl overdose.
Where's the just say no aspect in that? Like where's the room for error? There is none. What they're saying, especially now, it's always been the case, but just say no has never worked, and especially now, it's costing people lives. This is what really irritates me about the situation, right? We had a safe consumption site. I don't know what the gripe with that is, but the safe consumption site is gone now. And it's this thing where it's like, dude, you guys say you don't want to see people shooting up and lighting up in the streets. And then they give them a place to go to do it because it's a medical, like now it's a necessity. Like people use drugs for recreational use, of course, yes. But also there's another part of it where that's completely ignored, With the like elimination of the safe site, it doesn't seem like there's another safe site coming anytime soon, and it sucks because they know what works. They know that works, like it keeps people alive. Like I don't know, man. It's desensitizing. It's hard to find bring the humanity back to people who on one side have never experienced it, have only Fox News to go off of, don't really know what that life is about, don't know what that pain is. And on the other side of the coin, you have people like Raw Ricky and people that have like grown up in turmoil and in fucked up situations where shit's real. And that's the kind of shit that happens on a daily basis.
I grew up in a household where there was a lot of drug use, and it had a negative impact on my life.
I was the same way. Like I said, the first time I seen somebody shooting up or taking a shit in the street, I must have been no older than my son. I must have been like a tiny little boy. I've seen it a lot, and you learn after a while, it's gross, but you learn to just step over it. You just get desensitized, like, oh well, fuck them. Fuck them. That's the life they chose. Like it took me losing people to be like, damn, dude, like if I could talk to them right now, like I just close my eyes and I like talk to them in my head right now. And I want to apologize, I'm like, fuck man. Like if I could talk to the people that I'm thinking of, I'm not gonna say their names, but I'd be like, fuck man, like sorry bro, I'm sorry I said all that shit. I'm sorry I treated you the way that I did. And I know that he'd be like, it's all good, bro. I know you love me. And I know that's what it is. Like at the base of all people to do the best for themselves, you want people to like live the life that you think they should live. And sometimes you gotta make peace with that's never gonna happen. People are gonna die out here, and all I can do is try to give people what they need You know, if the Narcan that I bring to somebody saves their life so that they could live one more day, like, do I want people to, like, quote unquote get clean? Do I want people to be safe is the better question, you know? One thing is for sure, dead people cannot recover. That's for certain, you know? You don't know what people are gonna, I don't think that people should be judged on what they do anyways, you know, what they on drug use anyways. I don't think being abstinent should be a requisite of whether you live or die, you know? Straight up just like that. And this, like, abstinent is the only way, like, you know, what the fuck? You think I'm fucking telling people to get high? You think I'm, like, advocating, like, hey, kids, you guys should get high? Of course, like, what the fuck? Of course not. Yeah. Duh. You know, I don't use. But that doesn't mean that I have to, like, now in my life. I haven't touched a pipe. I haven't touched a drop in 3 years, man. And I've gone through a lot of shit in this year. I lost my brother, my mom, and my grandmother all in the same year. Fuck yeah, I wanted to get high. Abso-fucking-lutely. And I didn't. But, like, I get now that, you know, I remember when my pops relapsed. And I remember, like, when I got home, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I came home and I was like, fuck, man. The fuck? Like, the house was a trap house. And I just got out of prison. It was like I come home to fucking hell. And I was so fucking mad at him. I'm like, bro, you were doing so good. How could you fucking, how could you do this to all of us? And then I remember my brother caught his fucking case. When he caught his case and he was on the way to prison, and they were talking about giving him 4 years, and I remember being pissed, shitty drunk, high as fuck, in the rain, crying in the rain, and I was like, damn, it's that easy. How human we all are. Ain't nobody better than anybody, man.
All right, that concludes our San Francisco series. As you know, I've really never used this platform to solicit donations for a cause, but in this particular instance, I think it's my responsibility to do so. So the gentleman that we just interviewed, Antonio Chavez, who runs that nonprofit called Lost Soul Courier Collective that delivers on-demand Narcan for free to almost every neighborhood in San Francisco, is actually in danger of losing their business, their warehouse space, and so forth. So in our first episode, we talked a bit about how San Francisco rent is skyrocketing as a result of zoning laws, big tech displacement, etc. Well, that's actually happening to Antonio and the collective. The rent for their warehouse where they store the Narcan just actually quadrupled. And so in order for them to keep their business afloat for the next year, they need to raise a minimum of $50,000 to adjust to the new cost of operating. If you could help out, I'd really appreciate if you could go to their GoFundMe. I'm going to put the link here in the description. I'm personally going to pledge about $2,500. So if we as a community could kind of come together and help raise that money, I think that it would mean a lot because, from what I've heard from many of you guys in the comment section thus far, there's a real desire to actually want to help beyond just like awareness. I think it's great to be aware of stuff going on. Obviously, that's my job, is to raise awareness as a journalist, and I'm not claiming to be an activist, but I also think that awareness kind of has a ceiling. I mean, you can be aware of, the worst thing happening on earth, and it really wouldn't make much of a difference unless you're willing to actually contribute time or, if you can, funds to the right place. It would really mean a lot if you guys could donate because Antonio needs your help. Thanks.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. And 5 is the best number.